Okay, welcome to the second video. In this video, I would like to explain the summary of chapter 12 that talking about survey design. As usually, this is the point that we will talking in this chapter. So, what is the survey research? Survey research design are procedures in quantitative research in which investigators administer a survey to a sample or the entire population of people in order to describe the attitudes, opinion, behavior, or characteristic of population. And when we use survey research, we can use survey research when we want to describe trends, determining individual opinions about policy issues, when follow-up analysis, and to evaluate the programs. This is the types of survey design based on the time of data collection. We have two types of survey design. The first one is study over time. We can call it as longitudinal. And the second one is study at the point in time. So I will start from the study at one point in time or we can call as a cross-sectional survey design, that the researchers collect data at one point in time. For the example, when middle school children complete a survey about teaching, they are recording data about their present views. A cross-sectional study can examine current attitudes, beliefs, opinions, or practices. Another cross-sectional design compares two or more educational groups in terms of attitudes, beliefs, opinions, or practices. This group comparison may compare students with students, students with teachers, students with parents, or they may compare other groups within educational and school setting. A cross-sectional design can measure community needs of educational service as they relate to programs, course, school facilities, project, or involvement in the schools or in community planning. Some cross-sectional design evaluate a program, such as a survey that provides useful information to the decision makers. A final type of cross-sectional design is a large-scale assessment of students to teachers, such as a statewide study or a national survey involving thousands of participants. Next, about the longitudinal survey design, that involves the survey procedure of collecting data about trends with the same population, changes in a cohort group or subpopulation, or changes in a panel group of the same individuals over time. The example about longitudinal is a follow-up with graduates from a program or school to learn their views about their educational experience. The trend studies are longitudinal survey design that involve identifying a population and examining changes within that population over time. Cohort study is a longitudinal survey design in which a researcher identifies a subpopulation based on some specific characteristic and then studies that subpopulation over time. And the panel study is a longitudinal survey design in which the researcher examines the same people over time. Next, about the characteristic of survey research. There are four characteristics of survey research. The first one is about sampling from a population. So what is population? Population is a group of individuals processed one one characteristic that distinguish them from other groups. The target population is the list or record of individuals in a population that a researcher can actually obtain. So, from the target population, researchers choose a sample. At the most specific level, researchers select a sample from the target population. These individuals are the people studied. And this is the factors for make a good survey research. There are 4 factors you can read on your book at page 382. Next, about the characteristic of survey research is questionnaires and interviews. Survey researchers typically collect data using 2 basic forms, questionnaire and interviews. Questionnaire is a form used in survey design that participants in study complete and return to the researcher. The participant choose answer to question and supply basic personal or demographic information. Interview survey is a form on which the researcher records answers supplied by the participant in the study. In quantitative survey interviews, the investigator use a structure or semi-structured interviews consisting of mostly close-ended question, provides response opinions to interviewees, and records the responses. In qualitative survey interviews, an interview asks open-ended question without response optional and listen to the records the comment of the interview. This is the form of data collection to survey research. Okay. Let's talk from the mail questionnaire. Mail questionnaire is from the data collection in survey research in which the investigator mails a questionnaire to members of the sample. Researchers might develop their own questionnaire, modify an existing one, or use one that they have located in the literature. The process consists of locating or developing a questionnaire, sending it to the sample of the population, using repeated contacts with the sample to obtain a high response rate, checking for potential bias in responses, and analyzing the data. The advantage of mail questionnaire is the mail facilitates quick data collection and it's economical. And the disadvantages of this questionnaire is individuals may lack any personal investment in the study and decide not to return the instrument. Also, because the researcher doesn't have a means for explaining question, participants may misinterpret items on the survey. Next, the electronic question, or we can call it as web-based surveys or questionnaire. This is the survey instrument for collecting data that is available on the computer. Several software programs are available for designing, gathering, and analyzing survey data with sample question and forms. The advantages of this questionnaire: the survey can gather extensive data quickly, employ tested form and sample question rather than having to design them, and take advantage of the extensive use of the web by individuals today. The disadvantages of this questionnaire is the low response rates from email and web-based surveys. Contributing to this problem were non-random sampling, technological problems, security issues, and problem with internet junk mail. Next, about the one-on-one interview that doing researcher individual to individual interview. One-on-one interview survey research is investigators conduct an interview with an individual in the sample and record responses to close-ended questions. The focus group interview, the researchers locates to develop a survey instrument convenes a small group of people, that typically a group of 4 to 6, who can answer the question and records their comments on the instrument. And the telephone interview, the researchers record the participants' comment to question instrument over the telephone. Okay, next about the instrument design. Instrument design. And this is the steps designing an instrument. The first one is we have to write different types of question. The second one is use the strategies for good question construction. And the last is perform a pilot test of the question. The question construction problem that usually ini masalah yang biasanya muncul di pertanyaan-pertanyaan kita, yaitu question is unclear, multiple question is wordy, question is negatively worded, overlapping responses, unbalanced response option, mismatch between question and answer. Question includes overly technical language. Not all questions are applicable to all the participants. And the last of characteristic of survey research is response rate. And this is the pay survey administration procedure. The first mailing of surveys, it needs 2 weeks, and the second mailing of survey also needs 2 weeks, and the last one of the pay survey administration procedure is post mailing also 2 weeks. So we need 6 weeks for make a survey from the first mailing of survey. Construct and analyze a mail questionnaire survey. Write a cover letter to invite the participant to complete the questionnaire. Form and construct the questionnaire. Identify what statistical procedure will be used to analyze data from the mail questionnaire. Okay, next about the planning and designing an interview survey. The interviewer should maintain a neutral stance during the interview. Train the interviewer prior the interview. Take good notes of response or use a tape recorder. The last one, for the telephone interview, develop the telephone interview guide prior to the interview. I think we have to record all the interview that we use, because if we don't record it, sometimes we can lose the question or the answer from the participant. And the last one is the steps of the conducting survey research. We can start from decide if a survey is the best design to use. Identify the research question or hypothesis. Identify the population, the sampling frame, and the sample. Determine the survey design and data collection procedures. Develop or locate an instrument. Administer the instrument. Analyze the data to address the research question or hypothesis. And the last one is write the report. Okay, that's all about the summary of chapter 12. And let's next to the third video.